Very welcome to this build with us. So, anywho, welcome. And today we're going to talk about HR and onboarding and stuff like that, right?
Yeah, so let's open up this thingy in big screen mode. And so today we're going to look at the personnel directory and how we can create an individual onboarding, offboarding plan for each employee. Just to mix it up, we decided to show you everything with Monday native functionality for this one instead of using any of the help apps, just to show you how you can do it, because you can do most of it natively. It just means a little more admin work with each employee, but I will show you all of it. So I've actually done some preparations. So I've created a small template just to have something to start with, right? So let's first of all, let's clear all of this. This was when I was playing around earlier. So this would be the onboarding template, a template for when a new employee comes to, we hire a new employee and we need to do certain stuff, right? So what I've done a group for pre-start and one post-start, because some of the stuff we need to prepare in advance, like order the computer, order the cell phone, we need to add the user to the Active Directory, and so on. And some things we want to do after they have started the job, of course, right? I've pre-assigned all the people that from the IT department and from everyone, so they always will know what they'll be working with. This status here is just for sorting, so it's not important at all in that sense. This status here, I'm currently working with planned activities, ongoing, done, not started, and delayed. Delayed is really important. I'll show you later why. And then we have a date column. Obviously, we set all this up as deadlines. We have a dependency, and we want to make this smart so we can make everything dependent on the start date, right? So that's what we have done. So all the dependencies are going to this individual start date item. We also do have a few help columns that are only here to support us. So we're going to obviously make a new board view with a new table and hide some of these columns. I have one column that we just call count. The item default value is filling that out as 1, right? So every time I add a new item, we have a 1 here. If I mark a status as done, it will count here. So that's what I checked earlier. It will count as done. I also have made a pre-start done and a post-start done, just in case we want to see the differences. So that's the same thing, because what we're doing then is we're checking the status. So if phase blah blah blah, then put the done status in here. Same with delay. If the status is delay, put a 1 here. So it's quite simple. We want to allow managers and HR people to make individual items in this board as well. So I actually have, when an item is created in this group, set the status to post or pre-start, right? That means that if I add new item, this one will automatically be tagged with the correct phase. You know how it is with the delays.
Yeah, especially when you're broadcasting.
Mm-hmm. We also have a dependency on the date column. So if we move the start date, all the other dates will be moved accordingly. We have one last automation. That's when date arrives, and only if status is not done, set the status to delayed. So we can then automatically get information about the delayed activities. All right. Well, there we go. Always when you're showing something, right? Let's delete that one. Cool.
That's usually the case.
Look
at this.
So let's make the default view. Let's set this as default, and then let's go in and hide all of these help columns, right? Dependent on, we can hide that as well. So this is a really nice, tidy little, let's keep this in case we have some breakdowns here. And that's all. That's all we need, right? The template is done. The default view is the default view. Let's start creating our personnel directory. Let's add a new board to person. Obviously, new board, you know the drill. Let's just delete and clean it up. So a personnel directory, obviously, it can include whatever columns you guys want to have in the personnel directory, right? All right. So that's me, right? Thomas Carlson. Obviously, what I want now, I want a status column. Let's call it workflow, and we want a we want one more. Let's just call it business as usual in this case, right? Cool. We need some kind of information on an employee for this. In this example, let's just do the, you know what, guys? Every single company has a different kind of information you're running on an employee, right? So department, salary, contact information, that's not what we want to focus on today. So that's something that you will be working on your own, right? So what we will be doing is we will be issuing a connect to board column there like that. And we will be mirroring stuff later on. But first of all, let's build the first automation. When status changes to something, so when the workflow changes to onboarding, then I think we actually need to do the fixed. There we go. So that's the one. So when workflow changes to onboarding, create a new board.
From a template.
Oh, yeah. And you know what, guys? We didn't make our template into our template. So let's do that to begin with. More actions, save as template. Let's go back here. Let's go in and find that. Create board. So when workflow changes to onboard, create a new board based on the onboarding template, and let's call it and item name, right? So it will be onboarding dash
the person.
Of the person, exactly. Let's create it as a main to begin with. Let's see what advanced we have. So we have the ability to set it in the correct build with us, and the folder would be HR. So don't forget that, so it doesn't get created a bunch of private personnel boards in the main workspace, right? Done. And then we want to notify okay. And in this case, we can notify ourselves. We can notify, actually, let's notify board subscribers, because that would be the relevant persons in this case. We can obviously have a person column with manager. So that could also be it, right? Manager. And in that case, let's notify that person column instead. Manager. Cool. So obviously I'm going to be myself here. So let's see how this will work now. So onboard. There we go. Onboarding, Thomas Carlson created, right?
Boom, and there you got your notification as well.
Yeah, and this is based on everything. I got my notification. It buzzed on my clock and everything. So that's nice. All good. So how do we make this work now? So what we do, we always have to go in and select the board and select onboarding of Thomas Carlson as a connect to board. We need to do the create two-way connection, right? And then connect boards. Let's mirror that later. So, pro tip. Don't start linking from here. Go to the onboarding board. You did insert a reverse link. So the link to the personnel directory. Select the first one, hold shift, select the last one, and then let's select Thomas Carlson, right?
Otherwise, there's going to be a lot of clicking on your end because your
Yes.
template is probably going to be longer than this one.
Yes. Now, something really nice. We go into the item default values, we scroll down to link to personnel directory, and we click Thomas. So now, whenever we add a new item, that item will also be connected to the personnel directory to Thomas Carlson's onboarding.
Which is a bloody awesome feature.
Yes. So this is what I talked about earlier, Frederick, that how you could more or less automate this. So you need to make the connection to the board manually. You need to link the items in the template, and you need to add the item default values. From now on, everything is automated, just like if you would have installed roll up multiple boards or anything like this. So this is the things that you're saving by using some of these help apps. But and we got that nice little visual bug today. Perfect. Let's add some more columns while we wait. Hope this sorts itself out. So I want to link from this board. I want to link my count, right? Sum. Let's duplicate this 2 times. This is done, and this is delay. And let's make sure that we do those mirrors. So this would be done column. Let's sum that up, and this would be the delay column. Again, those are the formulas that we were going with. So let's just do this manually for now. This is something that sometimes can happen with the caching in the batch items. It's very rare nowadays. It could be that it's actually because of my sharing. So I have 10 items. 0 of them are done, 0 of them are delayed. So let's go into the Thomas Carlson's board, and let's mark 2 of them as done, and let's mark this one as delayed. Also, remember that automation we were talking about? So if I change the start date, all of the other dates will change accordingly.
I'm sorry, I saw the cell phone later on. No, I'm the delayed party I saw.
Yeah.
I saw the cell phone later on.
So we have 10 items, 2 are done, 1 is delayed, right? So now let's build some smart formulas. Let's do done divided by count, parentheses around that, right? And then let's multiply it by 100. And now we should get a percentage value. Let's add a little percentage symbol. So we are now that's what we call it. Really long column headline. And then we want to make a formula for the delayed, because I want to use the amount of delays as a way of giving ourselves a RAG status, right? So let's take the if delay equals 1, right? Then write yellow. Let's do it all in caps. Otherwise, what happens? Well, we need to have another value. So we need to if delayed is bigger than 1, make it red. Otherwise,
green.
so, and let's start the onboarding here on those two guys as well. All right. All green when nothing's happening. There we go. So onboarding of Frederick. Let's go in here and say setting, customize, connect more boards. Onboarding Frederick, create two-word connection, connect boards. And Gustav is also created. So you see, this is what we have to do all the time. And also keep in mind that we will hit the connect to board limit most likely. So once the onboarding is done, we most likely want to disconnect those boards of the ones that we're no longer using. For the sake of it, let's use this one now so we don't run into any problems. I'm glad I only did 10 items in the template right now.
It could have been fun if you had like a real onboarding plan with like 25 or 50 of them.
Yeah, but now I'm linking them to Thomas, so that's no good. So you need to pay attention, obviously, what you're doing here. So with Gustav, let's link it to him and not to Frederick or Thomas.
Can be really funny otherwise.
Yeah.
Gustav, you're not doing any good. Oh no, I'm doing fine. It's Frederick.
So that's it. But now I'm sorry, I need to go in here and uncheck all of these because I messed up. I forgot to change the board, of course.
And here's the use case for RMB, I guess.
Yes. I think that RMB quality of life thing is definitely worth it, but I also want to make sure that we included something not RMB, right?
Yeah.
So Frederick, let's do 1 done, and let's do 3 delays for you, just to I don't know, just to reflect. And let's do done here. So we have some differences, and let's go back into the personnel directory. You see here we have all the different dones, different percentage of onboarding done, and we have 1 yellow, 1 red, and 1 green. Cool. Obviously, like I said, we'll have a bunch of additional columns with all the relevant personnel things that we don't really, that's proprietary. What department, country, office, team, salary, position, you name it.
Tax rates, whatever, you name it.
Yeah. And you know how the column center works, right? So it use the relevant columns. Now let's make sure that we add a new table. Let's call it onboarding to begin with. This is then the status will be everything that's onboarding. Save as this view because we only want to watch the onboarding people. Let's hide the formula, delay, and onboarding process. Let's keep that. We don't need that mirror column at all. Yeah, and then don't forget to hit save to this view.
That's otherwise my specialty.
I just want to do 1 rag like this, right? Cool. So What we can do now with the conditional formatting, we can use it to say onboarding progress is greater than, let's say, if it's smaller than 20%, let's make it red, right? 10 here, right? Let's add a new, let's make a yellow when the onboarding is smaller than 50%. And now you're going to see something interesting. 10% got red as well.
Or yellow, yeah.
Yes, sorry, yellow, yeah. That has to do with the order. So you need to make sure that you, when you're using the less than, you have the biggest number in the top and the smaller number in the bottom.
And yeah, and it's in reverse, right? When you go greater.
Yeah, exactly. But just play around with it. It will be instant feedback. And then we'll do add when. Let's make light green if onboarding is more than 49. And then let's make sure it becomes even greener with if it's above or equal to 80. And let's make a final one super green.
Done.
Right. So let's jump into Gustav's quickly, and let's make some done and done. Personnel directory. 80% more green. And now let's finish Gustav off here with his onboarding. It went smooth as hell.
Yeah, that was smooth sailing.
That was smooth sailing, definitely. Thank you. I forgot to press save to view. Look at that. Never happened before.
A couple of times a day.
There we go. And now you see it's 100%. That's it. Cool, right? Another way of playing with this is we can actually do red when row, and then let's do our rag is red. And then let's make a new one, because this could still be different, right? Than the percentage. But percentage is just there to help us to understand. And then let's change that to row. Add condition, and then let's make sure we make a nice little green one. I'm so used to Monday always scrolling on its own. Green, save to view. We have one yellow, one red, one green based on the delay statuses. So Frederick is delayed because there's a bunch of delayed statuses. So let's go in and double check this. Let's mark them as done. In theory, now he should show up as yellow on the personnel directory. Yes, it worked. So that's a cool way of doing rag coloring, right?
Yeah, and I mean, coloring is always a great option because it goes basically to how our brains work as humans. We tend to recognize we are ridiculously good at patterns and therefore also coloration, while we're not as good with text and numbers, actually. So this will really pop everything out for you. So you will much sooner notice big red row when you have delays rather than, yeah, it's delayed or it's red over there. So it's a good way to make sure you're on top of things, really.
And it's just in that view. So each view has its own conditional colorings, right?
Yeah. Which is also good because then you can use it for multiple purposes depending on the view.
Oh, so we got a question in the chat if there's any way to get these board templates from us. I mean, to be honest, this board template is quite simple. It's hard to, without building an app, it's actually hard to transfer them. But we have shown you everything. I've shown you the automations.
Thomas, if you would just go click on each formula, so then we can just see the formulas.
Yes, so let me do that very carefully. So if the status is done, quotation marks when you're quoting text in statuses, write a 1, otherwise 0. Same thing with this one. We haven't even used these ones. So that's also something cool that we can do. We could look at them independently and say, are we done with all the pre-start preparations? Are we done with all the post-start preparations? Because I could go as far and start comparing the pre-start activities to the start date, and then have the RAG status based on that. So we can go.
And you can even go and nuts and say the delay is a pre-start delay or a post-start delay. And so on. So really do have some fun with it, guys.
So this is, again, when we do this, we're trying to keep it as basic as possible to get inspiration, and then I would love to see how far you guys bring it. So I've gone through all the formula columns now, and then let's look at the automations again. When an item is created in one group, set the status to that group, just because we're using that status as a part of the formula, and we don't want to be dependent on people also changing the status in case they forget. So that's why we have that automation. Adjust the date of an item reflecting the change made in the date of its dependencies. When date arrives, and only if status is done, set the status to delayed.
Yeah, and that should probably be one thing on that automation. That should probably be the day after the date arrives, right? As well.
It could be.
Depending on.
It's actually done on the same day because I really want the RAG status flag. It has higher priority than having an accurate delay thing. So if you have 3 things that needs to be done today and they're still not done, I want it to become red because I want to drive attention to it in this example. But otherwise, you're absolutely right. Normally, you would do 1 day after or something like that. The delay in this case, we could just call it a flag, and we could actually do 1 day before the deadline as well, just to be super clear with the flagging, right?
Yeah, there's some urgency here, boys and girls. Yeah. And don't forget presets for the items as well, right?
Yeah.
So you want to add in that count should be automatically put as 1 and so on.
Yes. So you go in here in the count. And then you just pick a random start date and create all the other activities in according to that start date. We actually haven't seen this in action. So let's go into Frederick's plan here. And let's say instead of June 1, he will actually start working on April 18. And you see all the other dates are now being changed accordingly.
Perfect.
And yes, we can, let's say we want to add a mirror, and let's add in the date, earliest to last, boom, and we can see how the onboarding is going time-wise as well, right?
Yeah, exactly. And as you said, Thomas, of course, this shouldn't only be onboarding. So bring on all your personal or staff information here.
Yes.
So in Sweden, we have something called basically tax slurs, which basically gives you the amount of tax you as an employee should pay for your staff. That should probably be inserted here in the file column and stuff like that. The salary should probably be in here. The closest contacts, so family, if someone gets sick or gets hurt at work, you want to store their emails or phone numbers preferably, probably all that stuff. Just go in there and then use the views also to divide those into sections, or even item cards, right? So you can get like the staff card to have everything nicely segmented for you.
So the item card that Frederick is talking about, add additional widgets to get the information you need. Obviously, you do an offboarding table, so you tie the offboarding at that as well. Once you created the personnel boards, you can always make sure to change them to private, right? And then make sure that you invite the actual manager and you invite the employee to the board. So you can actually have a joint onboarding with them in the board.
Exactly, and as well as other stuff as well. And if you're on an enterprise account level, you can also put like in IT specific stuff in there and not show them with board permissions, basically, to the end user. But these are the things you at IT should do for this person's offboarding, and then you don't have to show them those tasks for to the end user as well, so to speak.
But yeah, this is right now we use this technology or this setup for onboarding, but like we said, this could just as well have been a project with a project overview. The principles are just the same. So please think of the tools that we are providing as tools that you can apply to several situations.
Yeah, and I guess that's the main point through this whole series. These are principles that you can use. So don't think that they are use case specific. Have a think, how could I apply this to the rest of my business? Because it's basically the same modules, the same automations, the same everything that we are reapplying into different scenarios. And you should and can do that yourselves. Thank you so much for coming tonight. And don't forget, if you are watching this, have found this on YouTube, where it will be shown in a few days, remember to subscribe to our newsletter, and you will get a notification on when our next webinar is up. Or subscribe to our YouTube channel and make sure you don't miss anything. And for all of you that are actually here tonight, you all will really subscribe, and we love you for it. So we hope to see you the next time for the next webinar.
Thanks for watching. If you like our content, do remember to subscribe.